Hi, Lisa.
Oh, well, hello, Alex. It's lovely to see
sorry.
you this morning.
I'm sorry. I'm so late always. And I really am sorry, but I've been running around. And then let's just get this out of the way. I told you to stop worrying when you were getting anxiety, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
I would not do that with anyone else.
And then I
should do it with
felt
you.
great pleasure in picking her up on it. I was like, you would write a post about telling somebody to stop worrying, like saying, oh, yeah, stop worrying. Really
so
means.
Annoyed.
I know, I knew you would be. I think that's why I picked up on it more than anything, actually, more than you telling me to stop worrying. I think it's because I knew you'd write something about somebody telling somebody to stop worrying. So I thought, cheeky cow.
I definitely would. And the thing is, if someone told me to stop worrying, I would be exactly like, excuse me, I have anxiety, you know. Do you know what that even means? But I was like trying to rush to get on the phone and you were going, you've given me anxiety because you're late. So my point should have been, well, I know that. I'm sorry, I'm down in your space here.
I think if you just said that though in that way, I'd have also thought that was a bit weird.
You'd have thought I was really patronising you.
That was the way I was actually going to say it, and I stopped myself from saying that's what I thought you'd have been. But yeah, I'd have felt it was really patronising, and I'd have told you to fuck right off.
You definitely would. So I wouldn't say to anyone else, stop worrying, but because I was coming and I was getting irritated, because it was my fault I was irritated because I was running on the minutes, but I was like, right, if you just get off the phone, I'll be on quicker. I should have just said that, really.
Yeah, you should. Anyway, come on, let's introduce our guest, because we are actually going to be late for her as well, which we are all about.
Well, I did tell her, though, by the way, that we were going to be late, because I thought I'll tell her so she don't get anxiety, but I obviously don't give you the same privilege.
Yeah, that is true.
So yeah, we've got Pippa-Jo Marsden on, otherwise known on Instagram as Mum on Fire. Now, we've spoken to Pippa before on lives that she had us on one of her evening lives right at the beginning when she started doing them, didn't she?
Yes, she did.
And then we had her on the sober sessions as well, but we've never had her on our own podcast. So
I can't believe it. And we're on like season 3 now. It's actually ridiculous. And you know, her Instagram name, I love it because it is just her all over, Mum on Fire.
She's proper on fire, isn't she? She like does cold swims and she does so much for charity, and she's just amazing. And she makes being a mum look easy. But I know that she's like the rest of us. But it's going to be an interesting chat, this one, I think.
Definitely.
Right, she's here. Let's let her in. I feel like a bouncer when I'm letting people in. Can you hear us, Pippa? You're muted when you first come in, so you might want to unmute and just give us a big Pippa hello.
Hello.
Hi. Hey. We've been so excited about catching up with you, Pippa, because it's been a while, hasn't it?
It's been bloody ages, isn't it? To be honest.
Yeah. Was it before, in between the lockdowns, when we met you at the steps?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, because I came up and we were allowed to meet, weren't we?
Yeah, yeah. Well, maybe.
I never know what's going on, if I'm honest. I haven't got a clue.
I think we were allowed to meet for exercise and organised events, and because the police had turned up the week before just to check out what was going on, if you remember, and Manny had told them what he was doing, and then we were allowed to proceed the week after as kind of an unofficial thing. We couldn't advertise it as a meetup.
No, it was just this is what it is. Yeah, we called it now because it just came up under so much scrutiny. Even though we're a charity and we're able to meet up, it just wasn't worth it.
Oh, it makes me so sad to hear that, because it's such a life-saving charity and support group. And we're going to talk to you more about that, actually, because when we last spoke to you on the sober sessions, I don't know whether you was involved as much with Get Fit for Mental Wellness then, but can I just say I love that picture behind you, Pippa?
Oh, it's a wall hanging. I'm so easily sold to on Instagram, honestly.
Oh, so am I. And we're in Instagram.
She should have shares in Instagram and Amazon delivery. Every time I'm at her house, I'm not joking, Pippa, there's at least 2 knocks on the door every time. So it's not mine. I'll say, come on.
I've known you for years. It is yours.
You know what I've noticed though about this lovely picture, because you've bought that clearly from Instagram, but when I buy things from Instagram like that's come at a good size. My things turn up and they're teeny tiny.
I have got a Buddha picture. Yeah, I've got a Buddha picture in my bathroom, which when I bought it said, and I'm like measurements and maths is not my thing. But when I bought it, I said to my partner at the time, I was like, how big is it? Yeah, he showed me how big it was. And when it came, it was this big. And I was like, that's not, and I emailed him and I never heard anything back.
It happens to me all the time. It's a nightmare.
Lisa, you've got like a big issue though, haven't you, with like anything little? Like you struggle around little people, you struggle around little objects, you do.
Do you?
Well, a little bit, yeah. Not well.
Yeah, she does. We
need to put me on the spot there. But I think it's because I'm quite tall. So I'm 5'9", which is quite tall for a lady, right? And I always find that all my friends are really tiny. And then when I feel uncomfortable and awkward, and that's probably my own hang up of feeling like tall. And I got called lanky once when I was at primary school because I've always been tall. It's not something new. And people do this thing, right? They said to me like, oh, aren't you tall? Oh no, shit, I didn't know I was small yesterday. Like it really, but small people always like to comment how tall I am, and I don't say to them how small are you. So yeah, I have an hang up about.
But she did used to phone me up if we were meeting up on a night out, and she'd say like, what are you wearing? And I'd think, oh, this is nice, we're gonna have a girl chat here about what we're wearing. And she was like, put heels on.
She didn't really care what she was wearing. You need to be higher.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm not short, but I am small. If Lisa wears heels, she's noticeably taller than I am in heels. Let's say that.
I don't own heels.
No, you don't. You used to have tiny ones, didn't you? Once upon a time.
Oh yeah. Anyway, come on. Move on.
I'm not
comfortable with this people think I'm really uncomfortable. You're really sending me anxiety through the roof today, Alex.
I know.
That's
I'm really sorry.
Late and now like dropping me in it on my small people issue.
And then telling you not to worry. Like that was dead useful advice.
Yeah, right, Pippa, you.
Over to Pippa. Tell us about how you're finding this lockdown at the moment, Pippa, because we just had a brief chat on Instagram, and I know that I feel the same, and Lisa definitely does.
Oh, with parenting and homeschooling.
Yeah, I actually find the fact that it's Children's Mental Health Week really ironic at the moment. I find there's a lot of, it's just, this is the point. I think it's very important. I think our children's mental health is we've never been needing to take care of it so much. But I also think I'm getting, you know me, I'm one to look at the positives and solutions and things like that. But there's a lot of me that's just thinking this is crap and everyone's had enough and people have hit a wall, and telling people to, don't get wrong. So I do stuff with my kids, like, get them to talk about their feelings and things like that. It's not really helping them, is it? It is and it isn't. You know what I mean? It's not. It's just basically just sort of brushing things under the carpet. That's what it feels like, because at the end of the day, I think the realization I came to yesterday, because I speak to a lot of people and I'm very honest about it on social media as well, because I think I just want to call BS on so much stuff on social media where people are looking like everything's going right. And don't get me wrong, I'm the mum who's doing stair slides with mattresses and camp outs in the front room, and there's we can do all that stuff and have fun, but I have times when I hit walls too, and I'm just like, this is just so rubbish. They don't want to do any learning at home. Today there's the first day in a week that they've actually sat down and got on with their stuff, and it's purely because what they've been given to do is sort of fun things. But every day it's like walking through tar trying to get one, and I've got 3 younger ones and an older one at sixth form doing stuff at home, and they don't want to. Why? Because they're at home. This is their home. This is their fun place. This isn't a place where they sit and do work. It's all become the same, and I don't think that's good for their mental health. So yeah, I would say that I've definitely had mini breakdowns and to sort of 2 minute to half hour to 1 hour pity parties for myself. I've been in tears often, and we've spoken about it. So we talk a lot, me and my kids. So I think it's important to get them to talk. I think that's definitely good for their mental health. But reality, like going back to that first question, I'm finding it really challenging. Not one day is. Some days seem to be really great, and I'm so grateful to having all this time with him. And other times I'm looking at it thinking, this is what's going to happen to these children. Like, they're growing up with all this. They're scared about a virus. I don't know whether they should be scared or not. I'm confused. Do you know what I mean? It's just, I think it's really tough. And with no end date in sight, you know.
I'm really with you on this. You know, I've had a bit of a tough morning with my youngest daughter regarding school. She hated school anyway. And, you know, we've spoke about this a lot. She's not very academic. And then I go on to try and like sit down and like, come on, let's sit down. Let's see if I can help you in a way. I look at the work and I'm like, this is bullshit. And I know it sounds really like, I look at it and I'm like, there's no way. I know she's not going to sit and be able to do this, but she's been set a lot of work to do. And what she actually said to me this morning was, nobody's teaching me, Mum. They're just giving me work and I don't know how to do it. And then you kind of put this pressure on yourself as a parent. Like, I was never really academic myself. School wasn't a thing that I did. So to sit and try and help her with something that in all honesty, I have no clue about, you kind of then start to beat yourself up a little bit, like you should 100%. Be able to do this. And so everything comes under scrutiny. And I just think it's such a difficult time for everybody.
I think when it was like the first time round, it was a little bit of a novelty, wasn't it? And it was like, well, it's nice weather, so we just went out, you know, our hour of going out time, when we had an hour to go out, we just went on school trips all the time. And I basically decided, because they had none of this structure back then, did they? So I just decided that we weren't doing the stuff in the workbooks they were giving us. We were doing the things, because that was even worse, trying to sit around a table with with workbooks that my kids had been given, all different ages, and none of that. And again, like asking me to teach them, was like, I'm not a teacher, don't know how to break this down for you, and also you're learning in a way that I didn't learn. So there's so many derivatives and dynamics at the moment that are just not normal. And the fact is that this is supposed to be their home, where they feel safe and loved and sanctuary and fun and, you know, all of those things. And now it's having to be an additional thing. And like you just said earlier, you hit the nail on the head. They're not getting taught, they're getting sent work. This is the sort of thing that I find hard coaching adults to do, to have discipline, to self-motivate. To have, and don't get me wrong, these are great skills to learn. If they can nail it, then they're going to be flying in life. But the reality is, they're fucking kids.
And not all of them, and that's what you've just said there, Pippa, not all of them will learn it. And those that don't, the gap is going to get massive, that those that can survive this and those that really can't. And what gets me, and I am an ex-teacher, remember, I've got three. I mean, I only finished teaching last year. No. I want to. No, not at all. Quite the opposite. I am a teacher.
She's a proper teacher sometimes.
And I am a teacher sometimes. But I've got three children: a 15-year-old, a 13-year-old, and a 4-year-old. And to sit as a teacher and a parent. So from that perspective, I've not been able to do it. So if I've not been able to do it, and I've got teacher training and skills to be a teacher, how does somebody who isn't qualified and trained to do that do it? And I'll tell you why I haven't been able to do it is, number one, like you've just pointed out, there's no differentiation between home life and school life. So my 4-year-old wants to sit and play on Mario Kart. He doesn't want to sit and learn phonics with mummy, because mummy's not that person in his life. And, you know, he'll happily sit and read with me for half an hour every now and again. But when I'm saying, can you stop rolling on the floor with that bag of crisps up your nose and, you know, and just do some phonics, and he's like, yeah, but look, mummy, look at me, you know, it's not right. And the other aspect is, it's so inconsistent across the country. My eldest two are getting full live lessons with teachers there. I cannot fault the provision the school has got, but not everybody's getting that. So I'm very lucky with my elder two. They're off doing their work now. They're in front of teachers, they're taking a register, they're able to speak to the teachers and ask for help, they're being shown things. Fantastic provision, can't fault it. It's so unbalanced and unequal across the country. I've got my little one in school now after a fight, because of the work that I do coaching, and my husband's out at work, and I said, I cannot provide him an environment. He was getting left on his own for 4 and 5 hours a day in front of the TV.
Trying to work.
That's not good.
This is, and I'm blessed in the way that, I mean, I'm a key worker, so my kids could go to school, but I made the decision at the beginning, because before Christmas they were all 4 of them at the same time had to come home, because a child in each of their class streams was self-isolating. So I was like, I can't do that. I need to know where I'm at. I can't have them going in and coming out. I don't think that's good for anyone. So we made a choice because we can do it. Myself and my ex made a choice. We can do it. So let's do it. It worked when we were together last year. It's not working the same anymore because again, I'm putting, like someone said earlier, like I'm putting pressure on myself to the fact that I feel like I've got to get this stuff done. And I've communicated with the school. And actually I emailed the school yesterday saying, I'm sat in tears. I'm a fun mum. I get on the level. We go to the skate park. I'm skating with them, not watching them. I get in and I teach them in any way that I possibly can. And I feel like I'm somebody who comes up with solutions. I'm breaking. I've had enough. And it's starting to affect my relationship with my children. Yeah. And that's not fair. And that's unhealthy. It's unhealthy for me and it's unhealthy for them. But what I do often think is, thank fuck I'm sober.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that.
I was just going to ask that.
Because I know that my old self would have found it that would have been what I looked forward to every day. Just get through to, and then I probably would have gone earlier, but it would have just been like, just get through to then, and then you can just, or not consciously thinking, forget about everything, because I've never thought that in my entire life. However, that would have been the process. Let's just knock a bottle of wine back and be looking forward to that time when I can have mum time, and time out with my kids. And then even saying that out loud makes me feel incredibly guilty,
Yeah, I think we've all been there though. And I mean, you've seen the BBC News report out yesterday, haven't you, about the more deaths from alcohol than kind of ever before. I don't think it says that, but
no. And even when I read that today, because I saw Sober Dave share it today, and I shared it on, I was like, but even that's just the surface level. No one ever really knows how much alcohol's killed people, because no one ever knows that suicide was down to alcohol or was affected by alcohol.
Yeah, they're not included.
Documented. It's not, is it? So that's the bare minimum, really. The bare minimum that you can that people can actually equate to have alcohol being involved.
It's just so awful. Sad. It's so sad. And last February, when it all started, well, March time definitely, Lisa and I started to carry a survey out, and we finished it in June. And we have been harping this message out since June, that the real pandemic, not that there isn't a real pandemic, but the real pandemic here is about to arrive. And it's going to be alcohol induced and alcohol related. And now all of a sudden the BBC's jumped on it and everybody's suddenly going, oh, well, we've got a problem with alcohol. Yeah, they kept the off licenses open when they closed the gyms. What do you think?
I just wrote a post about this on Instagram. It's just infuriating that, when I go to the post office, I have to lean my letters on piles of alcohol because they've filled the shelves that much that there's no room for it. Like I sit there, like my letters are on beers and wine. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And then they wonder why.
We've been saying, haven't we, Lisa, about this for a while, and about the message that's getting pushed home about you need alcohol, have alcohol. And basically, anyone in the healthcare profession that isn't looking at alcohol consumption as part of their well-being provision is doing a massive injustice to the public. Anybody saying, I'm all about mental health, I'm all about physical health, I'm all about this. If you're not looking at alcohol, you're not all about mental health and well-being.
It's a disservice. They're doing it a disservice. We say this. It's so frustrating to kind of see these memes that you see, yoga teachers bending down and getting the bottle of wine. And it's at one time, it's something that I would have found funny. Or, like these mums dipping straws into wine cartons and passing it around. I would have found it funny. And I suppose we didn't know then.
It's what you don't know,
we can't be too hard on people. Like, for goodness sake, I was a health coach and used to help people try and fit their gin into their amount of calories each week. Do you know what I mean? I thought I were helping them out and I didn't know, and I'm absolutely devastated to look back at that's what I did. And now I'd go in ranting like, you're doing it a disservice. But we don't know until we know, do we?
No, and I think that because we do have to be very careful not to judge people and people, because people. I literally went for a run this morning with a friend of mine, a new friend of mine, and he's quite a heavy drinker normally, and he's not at the moment. He's having a break, and we were talking about relationship with alcohol. And we were talking about that exact thing as well, like how you can't, like I say to him, I don't judge anyone for where they're at. If you are truly, truly, truly happy with yourself and this is okay, and you're okay with the fact that, and the facts, you're okay with the facts. Do you know what I mean? Because I think it is just being that honest, isn't it? because that's what I can only speak from my own experience. My own experience was I was being so dishonest with myself and lying to myself all the time and justifying. And I always say, like, when you justify a behavior, there is something wrong. When you're questioning something, like I said to him this morning, literally running, I was like, the thing is, what it came down to was this. Like, what it came down to was this, that, you know, the fact that I was even questioning my relationship with alcohol or wondering if I had a problem or not, that one thought once alone would have been enough to know that's not normal. If you're questioning or doubting something, there's something wrong about anything. You know what I mean? With a relationship with anyone, like another human being, a friend, or whatever. If there's an element of doubt there, then there is something not right. And so
something needs addressing. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, there's something needs addressing, and maybe it's that you actually kind of look at your consumption, whatever. But for me, it was just very, very clear. This is I'm not doing myself, and the same as you as well, actually, Lisa. Like I was working in our business, all about health and well-being. Oh, I'm so health and well-being, and, you know, like Zen, and then necking wine behind the closed doors, and no one knew that. So it's like that. I was constantly felt like a fraud in my own purpose in life.
You say that a lot, don't you, Lisa?
I do, and I never realised at the time that is what it was. I didn't realise until I stopped drinking how dishonest I'd been with myself, what a fraud I'd felt. You know, like the relief when I'd stopped to think, like, I just didn't I kind of didn't realize anything. I stopped quite suddenly. Like, I think I shocked myself. So all the learning came afterwards, and all the reasons came afterwards. It was like, I stopped because of this, or I did that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
it wasn't
100%.
like a big thing. I just stopped, and then everything kind of.
You then learn how negatively it was impacting you, didn't you?
Yeah.
Do you think that we have the facts as a society? Because I've got a massive bee in my bonnet about this, because we know loads about cigarettes, the label it up. Yeah. You know, but we don't get told about it being a carcinogen. We do not get told.
No, and I think, and you know, you get like a little survey if you go to the doctors, like how much you drink, and who fills that in, right? I mean, first of all, really, who actually knows what a unit is and stuff? Because I didn't, but I could tell you how many bottles of wine I drank. But I couldn't tell. So when it puts it into units, it's almost making it easy for people to tell a lie, I think.
It puts the barrier up, doesn't it? It puts that barrier up of like, just ask us what we drink and let us write it on. Yeah, I did know the units, and I used to lie. So I used to look at the units and go like this, okay, 3-4 bottles of wine, about 9 in a bottle. So, okay, right, legal. And I knew the legal limit. I was well with it because I was teaching it in PSHE, for goodness sake. 14 units, I'll go for 10. I promise you I did that.
Just go a bit under, round it down.
You kind of disassociate yourself with it, don't you? Like you said, I've never thought of it like this. But if actually you had to write down the drinks you drank, you would definitely be questioning the amount of drinks you drank, wouldn't you? When it's done as numbers, you're just like, oh yeah, it's just I've never thought of that.
But I think your question, Alex, no, I don't think that. When I read Alcohol Explained, I felt like it was like, why is this not available? Of course I know why it's not available for people just to kind of or to be aware of, because otherwise people would stop seriously. If you knew, and this is it, isn't it? It's because I think it's about when I used to teach about food and looking at labels and stuff. The only thing you can hope is if you're educated enough that you'll then make the right choices for you, what's best for you. So all these people who are kind of drinking and going, I'm okay with drinking, I really like drinking, it's fine. Like my friend today who I'm running with, I wonder how he'd feel, I don't know, but I wonder how he'd feel if he actually read that book, for example, and looked at the facts as to actually, the facts are the facts, the science is the science. You know, that you drinking that alcohol and drinking it to the excess that you are is 100% going to have a negative impact on your life at some point. Whether it's happening now, because it's going on internally, it's just easy to just go, I'm all right, I feel all right, don't really get hungover, or, you know, get the odd headache. That's just like normal. That's what everyone else is doing. Do you know what I mean? So you kind of like, you don't realise the actual the damage that it's doing to you internally, let alone in your mindset until you stop.
It's so funny because, well, it's not funny at all, actually. I don't know why I even said that. But I had a conversation with my cousin's husband not very long ago about this. And I said, look, you know, Professor Nutt has said that if it was tested to the same standards as other drugs are now and discovered as a brand new drug, it would be illegal. It wouldn't be made legal. It'd be a Class B/Class A drug. And actually only half a glass a year of wine would be considered safe. And he went like this, and I swear to God, he went, "Where have you heard that bullshit from?" I was like, hello? He was the government's drug advisor. Yeah,
exactly, because people like I was saying earlier to my friend, I was like, the irony is that people say to me, why don't you drink? But my question right back is, tell me, I'll tell you plenty of reasons. I've got tons. How long have you got? You tell me one reason why you're drinking. One reason. Do you know what I mean? I enjoy it. Do you? What do you enjoy about it? I'm totally intrigued, because I look back when I go out and I do things like I thought I still like to do, but I realised I just don't. I went to a nightclub with friends when you were allowed to. Remember those days? And we went out, and it was and everyone the next day, I just remember them saying what a great night they had, and I was like, yeah, I don't remember you having a good night, actually. Well, I mean, I don't know how you even know you had a good night, because
I don't remember your night.
You to stand up. At one point, I had to prop you up so the bouncers didn't kick us out. But it's like, but then they were, oh, great night, and I was there thinking, what was great about it? You don't actually know, because you weren't present. That's why it was great. Had you been present, you would have realised it was a shit club. The music was dire, and there was no atmosphere. But none of you noticed that, because all of you were drunk, and that's what made it good. So it's just like, so what is it that you actually enjoy about it? And I know that might sound, it can sound like judging. It's not. It's just that I've like, and I guess like enlightened, but woken up to kind of realise and question myself. If you've got a legitimate reason, crack on. Like, this is your life, you do what you want. I'm just interested to know, have you ever really thought, what is it about alcohol that you really, really like or enjoy, or what is good about it in your life? Is it, because I questioned that to my friend who was running today, and he just said, well, all the shit things that ever happened, all the bad mistakes I've ever made have pretty much been because of alcohol. Well,
yeah. There you go. Do you know what we get? And I know two people. One was yesterday on the radio, and another one in my personal life, who actually the answer is, I like the taste. Now, I would have said I like the taste until I realised that when I actually open a bottle of, alcohol-free beer, which tastes the same, let's not pretend it doesn't, because it tastes the same, I only drink one. And that if I like the taste, why am I not drinking 10 like I would have done with Corona? And it's because it's not numbing me out. I'm present, and I realise that I've had enough fluid in my body, and I'm not going, oh, give me some more, so that I can carry on feeling the buzz.
The buzz, exactly. Because I would never have just had one drink anyway. I'm not that. I said again this morning, I was like, I just saw no point in it. It doesn't taste nice. What's the point? Unless I'm going to have that feeling, that buzz, that I'm everyone's friend, that kind of feeling. Unless I had that feeling, then I didn't. And I'm everyone's friend anyway, so I don't know why. But honestly, when I really look at it, I was like, why was this a strange thing? I actually was that fun and crazy and stupid and dickish without a drink anyway. But I think. I think it just makes me feel sad to think that people. My mum grew up telling me, you don't have to drink to have a good time, Pippa, and I was like, what does she know? But turns out actually she knew everything. You don't have to drink to have a good time, and actually you have a better time if you're not drunk, because you remember it all, or you don't, and you don't have a good time, and so you don't go and do it again. But if you're drunk, you do it again all the time. Like how many times do you have the same conversations with the same people in the same situation? It's just like, this is actually really boring.
It is. It's so interesting you've said that about like the clubs, because me and Alex had this conversation the other day, and again, something that I only realised like 2.5 years after stopping drinking. I was like, you know what, Alex, I never liked going to clubs anyway. That's why I always got so pissed, because the awkwardness of standing about, being tall and all that.
Come back.
The awkwardness and the not, like I used to really struggle with silences, which I'm learning a lot more about in meditation, which I know you do. So like you can't hear people proper in a club. So what's so enjoyable about it? Like I'd be so awkward now. But also something else that you just said was, if people are enjoying it, then crack on. If they can honestly say they are enjoying it. When we went to a social event that Catherine Gray actually hosted in Manchester, it was one of my first ever sober socials, and I was so anxious and nervous about going in, and I mean really, really palpitations and everything. It seemed like the longest walk ever. And one of the girls that was there asked Catherine Gray a question, and she said, well, what if I enjoy drinking? Like, why should I stop? And I was like, and we all were a bit baffled, like, you're at a sober event, that's a bit weird to ask that question. And she was obviously giving sober a try, and she were doing the sober spring, and Catherine just went, well, carry on then. And I just thought, well, yeah, it's as simple as that, innit? If you don't want to stop, don't stop. But it was really like, yeah, just, well, if you like it, carry on. And I was like, well blown away by that sentence.
Yeah,
but you've said the same.
I know, because it's personal though, isn't it? Like I personally, if someone was to say to me, do you think it's better to be sober or to drink? Then I'd say I'll be sober, because like I said to you, it got to the point where I was just kind of put a list together mentally in my mind. You know, what does drinking give me, and what does not drinking, you know, there is no list for drinking. There's nothing at all that drinking gives me that I didn't have already. The things that I thought it gave me was confidence, you know, the fun factor, life and soul of the party, wild child. I have all of that in abundance, you know, and I don't have that, you know. I mean, I'm doing the 12 steps of AA at the moment because I'm so intrigued to know how different recovery things work and stuff like that. And I'm like sitting in the rooms, you know, with people and them talking, and you feel like I just know what they're talking about. They speak a different language, and therefore I kind of understood myself more of a level that I am, and I wouldn't say, I don't call myself an alcoholic, because I'm not anymore. Alcohol is not a problem for me. It's not even a thing. It doesn't even exist in my life or anything. It's just I've literally just gone
over it, aren't you? Well over it.
I'll never go back and pick, but I understand that there are different levels of this, and it affects people in different ways. And some people, if it wasn't for those rooms in AA, would probably be an alcoholic and dead on a bench or something like that in a couple of years' time. So I appreciate and I respect what it's there for, but I'm not stuck in a definition of what I was. I do recognize that I am different, and I do recognize, and I also relate to the fact that when I took a drink, as they would call it in the book, that it was almost like an allergic reaction. Like I was so different. My friends would never like me, and I knew that I drank differently than them, and we'd all get drunk together and have fun together, but I would then go out the next day and do the same thing. I knew that there was this thing in me that just wanted more and could never stop. So I really relate to that aspect of what I've learned, you know, through AA and addiction. But I don't identify myself as an alcoholic, because I'm absolutely 100% not. I'm literally the complete opposite. You know, it's just because it's like, you know, when there literally is no other option, that is who I am. I'm sober, and I'll never ever in my whole entire lifetime pick up another drink again, because it's just not it's not a thing, you know.
It's so interesting that you've just said that, because we had a whole conversation, I don't know if you heard it, on our last podcast about the word alcoholic. And if you look at the dictionary definition, and you've just said it, well, I suppose I was an alcoholic, because if you look at the dictionary definition, yes, I can relate to the fact that I've never been the image of an alcoholic, but the actual literal meaning of it, then yes, okay. But what is so like you?
Yeah,
well, that's what I mean. The stereotype we conjure up, the stereotype,
sat on a bench with a paper bag, or
perception, exactly.
Vodka under your bed or something. It's like
exactly
it has to be that, yeah,
exactly. And then there's the next step, which was recovery. And I said this last week, and I don't class myself as in recovery either. And I came out with something that seemed to go down quite well. That was in a period of self-discovery. That's where I am. I'm in discovery. I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not in recovery. Yeah. And we don't need to stick ourselves in these boxes, is what we decided.
No. I believe that it's necessary to kind of describe something so people can relate to it. Because there are people who are in recovery, and that process of them being in recovery is very much needed. They need that structure and stuff like that. But I'm such a believer in that the past doesn't define you, but it does teach you about yourself. Excuse me, and it can give you and if you don't, you have to. Someone said to me the other day, like, what's your thing? What do you do? I help people to get brutally honest with themselves, and then move into their greatness. That's what I do, you know, and that's what I believe in, and that's what I speak as well. Is because I really 100% believe that, like epiphany after epiphany after epiphany. You know, when you start doing the whatever it is where you do your resentments and stuff, my biggest resentment was myself, actually. And interestingly, as I was working through these resentments, I'd answered them all. I knew that I took responsibility for everything. No one or nothing or nobody ever made me who I was. You know, it's so easy to go, oh, well, I was in such a terrible relationship and it's so shit, so I'm just going to drink. What a load of crap. What? That's ridiculous. What? So someone else, so you're in the relationship with somebody else. They're not trapping you in that house. You know what I mean? I mean, there might be, but you know what I mean? Like, you're not being forced. You're making a choice. Every single day we make choices. And it was my choice to keep drinking or not to keep drinking. It was my choice to stay in a relationship where it was toxic and like, oh, he's such a narcissist. And all that stuff really pisses me off now. This is the other thing I'm kind of passionate about, because I just think, stop it and own it. Own everything. You can't go, I'll own it all but that. It's like loving, it's like, I love you unconditionally, but not that bit. Well, that's not unconditional then, is it? You know,
it's so true.
You've just got to be, in order to, because people say, I don't know about you ladies, but people say to me, oh, how did you do it? You know, especially in AA, they think there's a magic potion or something that I did. That I was like, no, I just literally looked at myself in the mirror. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Who the fuck are you? And is this the person is this it? Do you know what I mean? Like, you were born to do way more than that. This is not who you can make a change. You can just make a decision and a choice and then just do something different. And it literally comes down to the point where it is that easy. And I get with addiction where you're addicted to something, because I was addicted to alcohol. So I do understand that. But you almost I just felt like in my mind, I pushed myself into a corner where I'd pissed myself off as well as other people so much that I was just so sick of myself and my excuses. And I was tired. I was so tired of it all. I was tired of pretending to do this and just, I felt like this imposter in my own life, like I was literally doing an Oscar-winning performance every single day, showing up, living, and then going home and being just deeply unhappy. And so I think it's just that it comes down to choices and decisions, but the only person who's ever going to change anything in your life is you. The only person who can ever do the work is you. You can go to all the therapy, you can go to all the AAs, you can listen to all the podcasts, you can listen to all the inspiration, you can read all the books, and they're brilliant. But if you don't actually do the work, like in this is amazing, by the way. Like that, you know, you read a book and then it says do, you know, action, like do this stuff, action, and people go, yeah, brilliant. Oh, I'm going to be like awakened now. And it's like, it's not. You have to do the work. You've got to show up every day and either not do the stuff that's killing you inside, or do the stuff that's enhancing you. And it comes down to that, doesn't it?
It's so true. And through coaching,
get off you.
Sorry, I just started at the same time. I was just going to say about through coaching, when some people turn up and they just imagine that you're going to cure them.
Yes, I was going to say something very similar.
Because we do, though, don't we? Let's be honest. And this is the point. Let's be really honest. You know, if we live in that society as well. We want a pill, take a pill. You don't have to do any work. You can still eat everything you were eating before, and you're going to lose body fat and probably die in the process. We won't tell you that's in the small print. But the point is that people want, because they're just like, I'm so busy. You know, my belief is that everyone's the biggest addiction in the world is people being busy. Yeah. And so everyone's so busy. I take time to just want to take a pill or just tell me what I need to do. It's like, well, you need to work on yourself.
People don't want to do it a lot. When with our groups, and you know, we've got quite a busy and active Facebook group, and it's the same when I say about health coaching. I used to have a really, really busy group. It had a good name. People used to come from far and wide, because if they came to my group, they would lose weight and they'd love it and they'd enjoy it. But the amount of people that used to walk through the door and just think they would immediately just lose weight because they've come to a really good group, and it's like, no, you've got to do it. Like, we'll tell you and we'll give you all the tips and all the tools, but you have to do it. And it's the same in our group, isn't it?
It is. And you did it with me, Lisa. You did it with me, you know, and that's what I wanted to draw to is I make no kind of secret of some of my childhood experiences. And certainly in my 30s, I used that as my excuse to remain trapped in drinking. And then every time I had a drink, I'd be crying, oh, it's because of this, it's because, just like you've described. And, you know, Lisa used to say to me in a really nice way, not in the way that I would go, stop worrying when she's got anxiety, right? In a really nice way. Look, Alex, this is in the past. That's happened. You can't change that. You can't go back and undo it. Now you have to accept it and decide what you're going to do differently about your life. And it's only when you wake up and you make the decision for you, this is my life, this is my story, and this is how my story is going to end, that you can make those changes. And you know, Lisa did that with me as well. So I get it. So, you know, we're talking now about this happening. I'm sure all three of us have at some point sat in a bubble of self-pity thinking this isn't fair.
Because as well, like, I think there's two things. Is firstly, did you not find that about sobriety, that you just think, right, okay, I'm going to stop drinking and I'm just going to be fixed as a human being? Because I did.
Yeah.
You know, maybe I didn't say that out loud to myself, but I kind of thought, oh God, thank God that's gone now. So I can just, you know, step into my greatness immediately. But it's taken 2.5 years, or definitely 2 years, to actually really go, oh, okay, like I've dealt with a lot of my shit. I've faced a lot of my demons. I've worked through behavioural patterns, which was my biggest thing, was behavioural patterns. What are the patterns that I'm trying to break? And I think this is the thing, is that people want the change, but they're not willing to do what it takes to have it. And we all know the definition of insanity is to do the same thing. It's to be doing the same thing, but expecting a different outcome. But that's what people are doing. They're literally stuck in this cycle of, I really want things to change, but you obviously don't. And that's just me being really saying it with, you know, with love. I mean it with love. If you wanted it enough, you'd make it happen. But people almost get so caught in the wheel of just being a martyr, like moaning about everything, about how things are so rubbish stuff. But it's just like, but you could just literally do some change. But people are not willing to first of all, to be brutally honest with themselves, because it hurts. It hurts to be honest with yourself. But the thing is, the reality is, you're either going to suffer one of two things: the pain of self-discipline or the pain of regret. There's no other thing: the pain of self-discipline or the pain of regret. One of two things. But people just keep doing the same thing, pattern, moaning. I need someone to help me. There is no one coming to save you. Nobody's going to come to save you. You have to do it yourself.
This is why I've been excited to do this podcast with you, Pippa, because I think you're frank, you get to the point, and you're just like so honest about yourself and about other people's recovery or discovery or whatever we want to name it. It's been, I know people listening to this are going to have those little epiphanies of, oh my God, I've been sat just waiting for this to happen for me.
You know what else? Some people won't want to hear it.
Yeah, they won't like it.
That's the other thing. There's some people that will just go, oh, she doesn't understand, or they don't understand, because of exactly what you say. Sometimes it hurts, to be honest. I just think, yeah.
And you know what? What I would say to anyone who's in that camp, as in whatever, she doesn't know what she's talking about, I really fucking do. because I've been where you've been. I mean it, and I say it with love. Like, I've been where you've been. I can remember, do you know what? A memory came up a week ago, and I trained on an Anon thing yesterday. It was like for 400 people. It's amazing. My favourite place, where I feel most at home. And I got asked to train at one of our leadership academies in front of 400 people. This is in person back in those days. A couple of years ago, obviously it was over 2 years ago because I was drinking at the time. And it was such an honour to have been asked by like my friend Sarah, who I massively respect. She's coached me for years. And it was like, oh my God, like she's asked me to tell my story and to train on, you know, I was so excited. And the night before we went to a wedding and someone was meant to be picking me up from the wedding to go there, I got so off my head, not just on drink, but Coke as well. So I got smashed, and the next day I missed my alarm and I missed that training. When I woke up and I had that, it was the most awful thing. But interestingly, I managed to somehow go, well, I've owned it, so it's fine, and convince myself. But internally was just like, I was so embarrassed, and the shame of not, because it hadn't just affected me, it affected like a whole training day that they had to then kind of like put someone else. It was awful. A month and a half, no, on the very next training session 3 months later, I got asked to speak again. And that for me, like, it makes me want to cry now, because like the belief that somebody else saw in me when I couldn't quite see it myself, and rather than saying to me, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that, that person basically just put her hand down to pull me up and showed me what I was capable of. Because the more that people show you what you're capable of, the more you want to do it. And I think the flip side of that is, I love my friends so much and they all drink, but the amount of times that my friends would excuse my horrendous behaviour never helped me. There was one point I almost wanted them to say, if you carry on like this, Pippa, I'm not going to see you ever again. And it took one of my friends in particular, actually, she was pregnant at the time and she was really hormonal, thank fuck. And I really fucked up at her wedding, and I got really drunk. I don't remember, I blacked out because I started to experience blackouts. I had someone up against the wall, someone like me, like literally like someone up against the wall, and I was vile to somebody, the words that were coming out of my mouth. And then I woke up literally in that situation crying because I knew I'd done something, but I couldn't remember what. And the next day again, and I could feel myself justifying these things. Like, it's, in 2 days you'll be fine about it, don't worry about it, but just let it blow over. And because I'd owned it and gone to see her, but she had a really stern talk with me that week about my behaviour. It wasn't about the drinking, it was about my whole behaviour. And I'm so grateful to her, because even though that wasn't the thing that then made me go, right, that's it. 2 weeks later, I did make the decision to become sober, but I was almost desperate for somebody else to make that decision for me, because I just felt, and it's hard to explain, because if you were to hear me speaking at the time, I didn't know I was that unhappy. Yeah. I didn't know that I was unhappy. I didn't know that the drink was making me unhappy. I didn't remember that it had been 10 years that I've been having these conversations over and over again. Yeah. So to anyone who's in that place at the moment where I say anything that makes you feel uncomfortable, I really recommend it. That's because, and I believe that is because I've said something that's hitting a nerve with you, that you're not being honest with yourself. Because if you were all okay and you were happy with yourself and happy with everything in your life and your behaviours and everything, then me saying anything today would not be making you go and making you uncomfortable. It just wouldn't.
Do you know what? I want to just say something about that, actually. We've talked about this before, but we did a workplace presentation for a company, a very large company, and we didn't get taken up on doing the actual presentation afterwards because people felt uncomfortable with us saying that alcohol is addictive. That was it. That was the crux of it. I mean, it went on. Lisa got called.
No, it was not Lisa. Actually.
We got called. It was Lisa. We got called evangelical. Yeah. Because we said that alcohol is addictive and anybody can become addicted, and they didn't want to hear it. And we felt really
glad. They wanted a story from two alcoholics. That's what they wanted. They didn't want to know
they wanted what
they were doing at a weekend or every night. And you know, this could be a bit judgy, but you could tell they were boozers, couldn't you, on the Zoom? But you could, and they didn't want to hear it at all. That like
they didn't want to hear we were like them.
Yeah. Yeah, they wanted us to be like on the floor, alcoholics with.
And here's my rising.
That's what they wanted, and they didn't get it. What they got they had to question their own drinking, and when they did, and the only regret I have out of that whole meeting is that we didn't say that. If there is anything that has made you feel uncomfortable today, then please go and ask yourself why. Like, have a real good. That's the only thing that I wished that I'd said to him that day.
A good learning curve. I know.
Oh, yeah, fantastic.
It's so interesting, isn't it? Because it's like when friendship groups. I mean, I definitely have my wine friends, my ones that I would call, because it was I knew that I could go around there and drink a bottle of wine and then drive my kids home and they weren't going to say anything. It's awful, really. But they still do drink heavily, you know, and it does make people feel uncomfortable. It would have made me feel uncomfortable. I know it did. I once said, famously in my own world, that if you don't trust anyone who's not drinking, it's just weird.
You, Lisa.
Yeah,
that's what you used to say.
Don't trust them.
Like,
but basically that just put more perception on me. Is that, but why does that make us feel uncomfortable? Because that person, if they're not drinking, you're getting drunk, then you know that you're not. Do you know what I mean? That you could do anything, say anything, and you've no idea, and anything could go wrong, and they're there. And they're aware and conscious of everything, so it does make you feel comfortable. Yeah, it does, definitely. And so I do get it. Like like I say, I'm mad wild anyway, so that's kind of my personality. But quite often I actually feel drunk, if I'm honest, when I'm out with my friends who are drinking. We went out on a boozy brunch a couple of years ago, and honestly, like I was rolling down the hills with them at the end when they were smashed, and it was so funny. And then I just drove everyone home.
They were all bruised and battered, didn't remember it, and you're like, I've had a great time rolling down hills.
Yeah, and people think I'm drunk, because the thing is that, I don't know about you ladies, but I realised that the drunk feeling that I loved is actually something you get, you know, when you laugh so much that snot comes out your nose and you can't breathe, and you're with a friend and no one can remember what you started laughing about in the first place, and you're literally like, your eyes go like slits and you can't, you know what I mean, like that. that makes me feel drunk. That's the same feeling. That was the feeling that I used to get drunk for, was to have that high. Or music for me, because I love music and I love dancing and I love dance music and I love all music. And I think that as much as I've not gone out to the clubs that we went to, it's just because it wasn't my kind of music, but gigs and stuff like that, I feel high as a kite. I feel like I've done a line of coke, but without the anxiety.
Without the damage.
I'm just so glad, Pippa, that we all met sober, because I think if we'd have met years ago in our drinking days, I think it would have been absolutely horrific.
Carnage.
We'd have probably had some we'd have probably had some good times, but honestly I'm so pleased that we've met you, and the real genuine authentic version of Pippa, because you are all them things. You are incredible.
And do you know what's really lovely is that I believe that now. And when I went on this run this morning, I was talking to Robin about it, and I said to him, like, I often think, and I'm grateful to, one of my biggest gratitudes, I'm grateful to myself for myself. That's one of my first things I'll say. And it's because when I'm here and I'm running along with Robin and we're chatting away, and I said, the thing is that I wanted to be this person. I wanted to be this person so much, not just sober, but the person who was living, who was impeccable with her word, the one who was doing all the things that she said she was going to do, not the ones who kept quitting and making excuses, or the one who kind of tried things, whatever, the one who's so honest and isn't afraid to be who she is, or to say what she wants, or to stand in her truth. Because I used to not be that person. So I'm so grateful. But it all started with making that decision not to drink anymore, because that was the biggest thing that was influencing all of the other negative stuff. It all kind of came from that point.
It's what you say, Lisa, isn't it, that everything good in your life has now come from and stemmed from when you got sober? Everything a good few times a week, if not probably every day, I say something has happened because I'm sober, or maybe it's that I appreciate it so much more because I'm sober. I wouldn't have noticed it before. I think gratitude has a lot to be said for, and I think it's so cliche, isn't it? You see it all over Instagram about being grateful and your gratitude and writing it down, but it is incredible. It really does make a difference, and
you have to feel it as well. I say to people, gratitude, don't just write it down because it's ticking a box because you've been told to do it because and feel it. You've got to feel it as if you can smell it, breathe it, it's in your body. And that's the thing, isn't it? And it's just, when I talk to people about sober and drinking and stuff, I'm just like, you have to make a decision what's best for you. You really do. But like you said, the clarity and everything's come from it. But what I was going to say is that it's not all like, rainbows and unicorns, is it? Also what's happened from being sober is that I've had to really get in touch with some stuff that I don't like about myself, and recognize my behavior patterns. And actually I get overwhelmed, which is another reason why I understand that I used to drink. This is what I was saying with the homeschooling, going right back to what we were talking at the beginning, the home learning. It would definitely have been a reason for me to drink, because I get overwhelmed. I've got 3 really, which is so crazy. Because I don't know if you've met my kids, but they're like
we met 2 of them,
like on safe ease, basically. Like they're like brilliant. They're full of energy. They fight, bicker, and they're always answering, and they've always got an answer for everything, and they're full on brilliant, full of life. It's really hard to parent, and it's really hard to parent when you're a parent who gets overwhelmed with noise.
I
find it really challenging. I sometimes feel like I need to wear those those defenders, like, to just get rid of all the noise. Like, I could be rocking in the corner sometimes, and that's why I cry a lot. Like, my kids see me crying all the time, but I'm all right about that, because I'd much rather than have this mum than the one that they had before.
Absolutely. To see you crying healthily than to see you sat in a corner drinking, wow, it's got to be, it is.
My frustration and my lack of being able to control a situation, as in control my children, comes out in tears and things like that, or maybe sometimes shouting, which I apologize for, or I swear, and I work on all that stuff, because that's the other thing, is that this is another one of my big beliefs. No one's ever going to fucking arrive like that. Like a bloody magic carpet. Do you know what I mean? So you're never going to arrive, and I don't believe that I'm better than anyone else. I'm just so fucking pleased that I'm better than the person that was before. But I'm also, because the paradox of everything, really grateful for that Pippa, because that Pippa kept trying and trying and trying to be sober, and could not see because she was so in the fog she couldn't quite see. But I'm so proud of her for keeping going, because I didn't think that I was a determined person, and I didn't think I had discipline, and I didn't think that I had resilience and all these things. I wanted to be that person, but I didn't realize I had it. That's that saying that had power all along. You know what I mean? that is so true, but you don't realize that until you connect the dots looking backwards. You can't connect with Steve Jobs said this in one of my favorite ever speeches, but you cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. But you just have to keep showing up and making the choices and the decisions that you know serve you best. And if you make a decision that doesn't serve you, then just learn from it and don't keep repeating it, because otherwise you're going to keep getting the same thing.
Oh, you know what, Pippa? I honestly think people are going to get so much out of this, and we could go on all day.
Sorry.
We really could.
No,
don't be sorry. Honestly, I want to get you back on again, because I don't think we're finished, even though we have to finish. We're not finished.
You know what I love about you, Pippa? Honestly, everything that you say, I'm like, yes, 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 yes. You are everything I want to say, but you articulate it perfectly. I need you to walk around with me all the time and say it.
This is why we have guests on our podcast, Lisa, because we can stick them in front and go, yeah, what she said.
Everything that she says. That is it.
Thank you.
Honestly, thank you.
One of the last things that Robin said to me this morning we were running was that the thing is that, Pippa, you're in this really good position to do this because you're charismatic and all these things. And you're right. And I said, yeah, you're right. I knew that I was here to do something special, but I take that in and I don't. And again, that's something, it's a practice. Like, take the fucking compliments. When someone's telling you something nice, don't bat it back. Oh, this old thing, it's from Narnia. You know what I mean? It's like, no, take it. Like, just own that stuff. Someone's saying something really nice to you, that's probably nicer than you say to yourself. So, but he's right, and that's because of the work that I do. I consistently work on myself, and so yeah, of course, I've earned that kind of that feeling to feel good about myself, you know. So yeah.
Well, you should feel good about yourself because you're amazing. And can you just tell people before we go where they can find you, Pippa? Because I'm gonna have a little flock, I reckon.
Thank you. So on Instagram, I'm Mum on Fire. There's dots in between, so it's mum.on.fire. And on Facebook, I've got a Facebook page, just Mum on Fire on there as well.
Oh, well, I hope people follow you. They should do. You're a massive inspiration to both of us, and we're really grateful you came on. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pippa.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.